Co-hosting, the downside is you don't have any ownership. You do have to work with the owner, which that's something else we can get into. I think that owners are more difficult than short-term rental guests. So that's something else we can get into. But that's the downside of co-hosting. But the positive is that you don't have any of the expenses of it. You only make money when the owner does.
What is up, Growth House family? It is your host, Jesse Ray, and I'm here with a friend, Mrs. Natalie Palmer. How are you?
Hi, Jesse. I'm good. Thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. So we got introduced. I always like to give a shout out to the people that introduce us. So we got introduced by our friend Cassidy. Is that correct?
Yeah. He just, I forget how, a text or an email, but he was like, I think you two need to know each other. And then, yeah, we've been talking ever since. So thank you, Cassidy. Shout out.
Shout out to Cassidy. Well, we want to just have something fun to start the episode off. So give me a fun fact about you that most people don't know.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm like in elementary
Ooh.
school again. Okay, so fun fact is I used to be a competitive rock climber. I did that for like 10 years. So there you go.
That's awesome. When did you stop?
I did it from when I was like 10 to 20. So it was like that decade, and then worked at a rock climbing gym while I was in college. And then, I don't know, graduated and got busy and kind of let it go. But yeah, I want to get back into it.
That's awesome. It's funny because I feel like we all have these like passions. And so my kind of fun fact is usually that I used to write music for artists.
What?
And then that was during kind of like the same time frame, a little bit later, like 15 to 25. And then
Any songs we would know?
You might have heard them on the radio back in Portland, where I'm from. But
Okay.
nothing that big. So one of our artists got signed by Akon, and then we would go on tour with like some people. So yeah, it's like a whole past life of mine that usually people don't know about.
Yeah, so interesting. I know. That's actually something I found like with a lot of people that are in real estate, and like my background, we'll get into this, is short-term rentals. And I've really found with short-term rentals too, like so many people have past lives as like they were professional photographers or travel vloggers, like it's just the most random things. They taught English in Japan for a year, and it's like it's just very interesting how I think that like very like creative and kind of entrepreneurial people with these like past lives tend to like find themselves in real estate eventually.
That's so true. Yeah, I actually know a lot of people now thinking about that have just like these kind of crazy lives or stuff they've done in the past.
Yeah.
So I want to paint a picture of what life looks like right now for you. So businesses, companies, kind of just tell the audience what you do right now, and then we'll take a step back how you got there.
Yeah, sure. So I would say I'm like known for being a short-term rental operator. I manage 10 properties, kind of have a boutique vacation rental management company in Big Bear, California. And then that just spun off into so many different like side businesses and projects. So I also have a podcast, which Jesse, you'll be on. So I'm the host of No Vacancy, the podcast. I do coaching, I do mentorship. I am the co-founder of Level Up Your Listing Summit, which is an annual women's short-term rental summit every March in Phoenix. And I help raise capital. And yeah, there's just a lot of different like avenues that this world has like taken me down.
That's amazing. And your probably most important job is a mother.
Yes, I am a wife and a mom. Yeah, I have 3 kids under 4, so
Wow.
that definitely keeps me busy. But yeah, it's also like a very good motivator. I don't know. I often wonder, like sometimes I catch myself like just in the midst of the chaos, and I'm like, how much further would my career be like without these like sticky children, everywhere? But at the same time, I feel like everything I built like started after having my first, and I wonder if that was like I don't know, just like some sort of like intrinsic like motivator that I needed to go after things. I'm very efficient with my time now. And I think in the past I would have just like spent all day getting a task done. And now I'm like, I have 1 hour during nap time. Like we got to crank this shit out. So yeah, it's very interesting to think like what could have been in a different life. But yeah, this is where I'm at.
Shoot, that's an example of no excuses for all of us who don't have kids. That's amazing. I can't believe you could juggle all that. Well, let's break down like how'd you even get started in real estate? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so my background was my parent never saw this coming at all. Actually, speaking of past lives, I was a wedding planner for a while, and then I had a corporate job out of college doing marketing for like an insurance company. I was always very into side hustles, so had my corporate job. I was like a wedding planner on the side. I also was doing website design for people, branding, social media, just like trying whatever I could. could. And it was 2017. My parents had a second home in Big Bear, California. And just as me and my sister got older, we weren't really using it as much as a family. And at that time, I was like, hey, there's this app, Airbnb. Like, here could be another one of my little side hustles I do. And so I was like, Mom, Dad, can I please list this on Airbnb and like take a commission? So co-hosting or property managing, before I even like knew what the term for that was, I really had to persuade them. They were not excited about like strangers sleeping in the property, but got them on board eventually. And the plan was actually only to list on Airbnb for 1 week. It was going to be the week between Christmas and New Year's, because Big Bear, it's a ski resort town. It's so packed during that week. We don't even enjoy being up there. But that told me that we could probably charge a pretty good nightly rate for that week. So that was it. I was like, let me just try this for 1 week. And I think within like 45 minutes of publishing the listing, we got a $2,500 booking. And my parents were like, okay, you're going to do this to the end of the winter season. Like, keep going, like you've stumbled on something. So kept going into March 31st of 2018. And at that point, there had been so much income. My parents were like, we're taking all of this and reinvesting this into a down payment on a second property in Big Bear. Can you manage that one as well? And then from there, I just had owners and neighbors start approaching me, and they were like, hey, your places are always packed. Seems like you've got your operations like very smooth and you're pricing better and you're optimizing something. Can you help manage our places? So that's kind of how the property management company was born. And then since then, my husband and I have also invested. So we have one property in Big Bear, but mostly I'm doing property management for others.
That's amazing. And what is the difference? I'm always curious between property management and co-hosting.
Yeah. Okay. So technically, I would be considered a co host. For being a property manager, you have to not only have your realtor's license, but you would also have to have a broker's license. The biggest difference really comes down to who can handle funds. So the reason that property managers need licensing is because they collect all of the funds and then they send paychecks out to the owners. As a co host, I'm not legally allowed to hold funds. So my owners get paid, the clients, and then I invoice them for my commission and my services. So that's really the biggest difference. But as a co-host, I'm basically just an independent contractor that helps the owners, get bookings and communicate with guests. So there's different ways to do it. I operate as full service property management, but there are co-hosts who will literally help you with like just responding to guests or just scheduling cleaners or just optimizing your listing and setting pricing. But I do everything under the title of being a co-host.
That's awesome. So I'm always curious because I have so many people that reach out to me that maybe don't have, the funds or can't figure out creative finance to go get their first house. So they say like, Jesse, what's the easiest way to get into, real estate?
Yeah.
And for me, I always think of mostly wholesaling because I know a lot of people, that's how they get started. But I feel like co-hosting would be just as good. Like
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
it's so different because co-hosting, you actually have, a dependable income every single month once you have these clients. But then
Yeah.
wholesaling, you usually just get, big checks whenever you're able to wholesale deals. So would you say co-hosting is probably the easiest and best way to get started in real estate?
In my experience, yes. I haven't done wholesaling, so I can't compare those two. But I mean, co-hosting, it's almost all profit you're operating with. You can start for $0 and, you just get in there and yeah, basically start taking a commission off of the service that you're providing, off of the revenue that you generate for the listing. Yeah, we've all seen with like ownership, especially with short-term rentals. It's not just buying the property and the closing costs. You have to furnish the whole thing, renovate it, probably these days put a sauna in and a fire pit and a hot tub. Like the amenities that people are demanding are higher and higher. The standards that guests have, it's expensive to put together a short-term rental and get that out in the world today. But with co-hosting, you can just get in there and yeah, pull some levers to increase revenue and start collecting a commission on that.
Talk to me about arbitrage. Has that been something of interest, or do you see that as like another form of a lot of risk, a lot of money up front, to then I'm making maybe close to the same amount just co-hosting?
Okay, the people who listen to this and are arbitrage fans are going to like hate me so much for
Oh,
what I'm
let's
about to
go.
say.
Break it down.
Okay, I am not interested in arbitrage. I see like the model, right? We're talking about you hold a long-term lease on a property and then you are turning around and you are short-term renting it out or mid-term renting it out. The reason I'm not a fan of it is for me personally, I feel that it's like the worst of both worlds. Like the downside of ownership, like while owning real estate is, I think, the key to like longer term wealth, the downside is what we talked about. Like you have a monthly mortgage, there's a lot of expenses, you have to furnish the whole thing. you're carrying a lot of the risk in that case, but at least you get the perk that you have like an appreciating asset you're paying into. Co-hosting, the downside is you don't have any ownership, and you have to co-hosting, the downside is you don't have ownership. You do have to work with the owner, which that's something else we can get into. I think that owners are more difficult than short-term rental guests. So that's something else we can get into. But that's the downside of co-hosting. But the positive is that you don't have any of the expenses of it. You only make money when the owner does. So you're not paying every single month. To me, arbitrage is like the worst of both worlds. Like, I'm carrying this rent, like I have a lease, a 1 or 2 year lease I'm paying into every single month, whether it's slow season, whether there's a pandemic, whether there's regulation change, and it's very hard to break those leases. There are people doing arbitrage now that will put that into their contract and say, like, if there's another pandemic or regulation change, I'm able to break this. But still, it's another factor you have to think about, and you're locked into something, and you're still paying rent even through those slow seasons without any of the, wealth building that you would get from owning that real estate. So that's my thing with arbitrage. You also still have to work with the owner. I think a lot of people who do arbitrage think that it's a way to not have to work so closely with the client. And they're like, okay, I just, get the lease. But I have an example. Gosh, one girl in my coaching program right now, she just had to cancel a week's worth of bookings because the water heater was broken and the guests had no hot water. And she's been reaching out to the owner because in their contract, the owner, it's an arbitrage deal. So she reached out to them and she's like, can you guys fix this? And they were like, oh, well, we want to check how the warranty is on it first. They wanted to go through warranty so that they didn't have to pay. And it cost her, I think it was like a $2,000 booking or something. Probably they would have paid, I don't know, what would it cost to fix a water heater? Someone tell me, $350 or something, maybe 800, let's just say, under 1,000. Okay. And she had to cancel a $2,000 booking because they waited and waited and waited. It's actually since then, it's now affected 2 more guests because figuring out the warranty. And then by the time they did, they had to order this new part. The other 2 guests at least kept the reservation, but she had to give them back like 30%. I think at this point she's lost over like $3,000 on this. And it's like, why would the owner, they don't care. You're paying the rent every single month. You still have to work with them in that situation. And yeah, for them, they'd rather just wait for the warranty to kick in and go through, the hoops of that to get it repaired for free. But if you owned it, or if it was co-hosting and the owner is losing money now and it's threatened to them that they're going to lose the reservation, I think you'd get faster action. So that's my take on arbitrage. I'm going to get so much hate for that. I know the people who love arbitrage are like die hard about it. And again, I see certain perks, but it's like really just feels like you're getting like the worst of co-hosting and ownership. So yeah, I've never dabbled in it. I much prefer co-hosting.
I would agree with you unless there's like a crazy arbitrage number where you're like, okay, I know I can get this for 2,000. I'm willing to take on those risks because I'm making 8,000.
Yeah.
Like, all right, that delta makes sense. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I can live with that, live with some more risk. But I mean, for a lot of these arbitrage people, they're excited for $1,000 a month, where we all know, like, okay, that's maybe best case scenario, and stuff happens, and all that cash flow can be lost like pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
I actually agree with you there. So maybe I'll get some hate now too. So we'll be hated together about our stance on arbitrage. So when you look at co-hosting, what are typical rates these days that co-hosters, are looking for?
Yeah, I think you would, for full scale, like, again, when I say property management, I'm like saying like me as a co-host, I do property management, but just legally I'm a co-host. But I would say for like full scale property management, depending on the market, like 20% is probably the most common you're going to see. The range I've seen is anywhere from like 15 to 30% though. And then there are co-hosts who will say like, I just want to help with guest messaging, or I just want to help set your nightly rates, or I just want to schedule cleaners for you. Anything like that, I would see between like 5 to 15%. I charge 25, and I used to do 20%, and then I increased it to 25. And the big learning lesson I had there when I increased it was because I decided I want to offer all of the supplies and be like an inclusive service. So I was charging 20%, and then I would have to invoice my clients to reimburse for, I'd purchase whatever, toilet paper, paper towels, coffee, dish pods, all the things. And I would have to invoice the client to reimburse me for that. And I'm like, bookkeeping is like torture to me. And so just going through my Costco receipts and highlighting like, okay, this pack of dish pods was for this owner, this bag of trash bags was like for this one. It was just such a nightmare. And I was like, you know what, how about I just increase this to 25%, give me a little bit of cushion, and forget it. Like I'm just all inclusive now and I don't have to invoice for any of those things. I do make a little bit of markup on it. If I was like accurate to the cost, I probably should have increased by 2.5 or 3%, but I figured I'm shopping for it. Like I'm the one, managing refills. So we went up to 25 and that's kind of how I offer it now. It's just an all inclusive service in my package.
No, I see it's more than fair. How do you typically get clients?
I've done all word of mouth and I'm like proud to say that like I have a podcast, I've got a following on Instagram, I, have my conference and I think a lot of people would say like, "Oh, that's how she gets clients because, she's got a name out there." I don't advertise my co-hosting services at all. It's all word of mouth. Maybe I should be and I should tap into the brand I've built, but I just don't. Like I use my brand to promote my summit and, coaching and podcast, all of that stuff. And so I don't tap into it at all. But I think that that's proof, you guys, like if I can do it, so can you, because I've never put out like a promotional flyer. The closest, like the most marketing I've done was I have a referral structure with all of the realtors in Big Bear. So several of them I've said, if you send me a client, I will give you whatever it is, a $500, kickback or something if they sign with me for a year. That's really the extent of it, but really word of mouth. I would say I think you'll need to do more marketing as a co-host if you plan to go all over the country. But if you want to stay in a local area or, like really build your business in like one market, I think you'd be surprised how quickly it grows just via word of mouth. It's like a couple clients that'll be happy with your service. And then your cleaner, they're cleaning other properties and those owners are going to say, "Hey, who else do you clean for?" Like it really does pick up quite quickly if you do a good job, I would say.
Oh, I totally believe it. Also, I've just realized the best clients are the ones that are referred to you. Like, so you
Yeah.
don't have to go because usually, okay, they're a great client and then they referred me to another client. They probably are the same similar personalities. And
Yeah.
like, I'm looking for people who are laid back and not, overbearing and asking me tons of questions. So, yeah, I can see definitely the referral would be a really smart way to kind of grow your business.
Yeah, I never thought about that. Honestly, for me, it was more like laziness. Like I just never put the marketing campaign together. But you know
Yeah.
what? I like this. This was all part of a strategy, you guys, for me to just get clients that were like-minded. That's what we'll chalk it up
Exactly.
to.
Talk to me about your coaching. Is it a community? Is it like one-on-one coaching?
Yeah, I stopped doing one-on-one, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of your listeners, I think, who do offer coaching have maybe been through that. Like one-on-one was just so much work and so hard and very hard to scale. And so I've switched to a group model, but I really love it now. Like just transparently, I switched to group coaching for the scalability and just having eyes on like being able to bring in more income. But I actually really believe that what I can offer in coaching now has gotten so much better and so much more valuable to someone in my program because the group aspect, especially in real estate, maybe there's other group coaching programs out there for different topics where community isn't as valuable. I don't know. I can't even think of one though. I think community is valuable in every industry, but like, especially here, I mean, right now we have like one girl in my program who she's like looking in the Denver area. And then it was like 2 weeks later, another girl joined who's also in the Denver area and has lived there forever. And I'm like, you two like meet, talk. They've exchanged numbers. They're talking all the time now. I've got two women who connected in the Washington area. One became the other one's realtor, and now they're referring clients to each other. There's been partnerships that have formed in the group, people who come in because they're looking for more investment properties and they don't want to do management. They feel like it's slowing them down. And then I've got other people in the program who want to build a co-hosting business. So boom, you guys can meet and you're off to the races. So it's really fun having the community aspect. So yeah, if there's any coaches out there that are like still clinging on to one-on-one because you think that that's a way to deliver a better product, I would really challenge you to switch to a group model.
Community is so fun too. Like you said, it's so fulfilling too when you're the one kind of putting the network of community together
Yeah.
and you see those, introductions happen and they're friends. Like at the end of the day, a lot of people struggle and it takes a lot of time to go find like-minded friends. So you have to go all these different meetups. You meet like, dozens of people. You have conversations that you're trying to get out of because you're like, this is not my person. But you
Hmm.
join a like-minded community and then boom, within a week, you're like, oh my gosh, other people that think like me, and especially if they're in the same area, boom, like best friends. And
Yeah. And
so I'm on
and
the other
on
side of that too. So I hear you on this. I love it.
On that note too, I really would like encourage people to just, we hear this all the time. So I'm like, beating a dead horse here, but like niche down with who you're talking to. My program is called Host Like a Mother, and it's literally like teaching you how to host as a stay-at-home mom. And I remember thinking like, this is way too niche. Like there are a lot of people who want to learn short-term rental stuff that like aren't parents yet, aren't even in a relationship. Like that's not even close to their timeline. They're my parents, like moms who are looking for community, but they're not really interested in designer short-term rental. Like I'm really pigeonholing myself, but like to your point, the people who have come in are, I don't know, they'll just meet and like be friends like outside of me, outside of the group. Like in the Facebook group, they're talking and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to be in this person's town. We're getting lunch." And it's like it already just filters out like who your people are. So yeah, that's something too as a coach or service provider or whatever. If you are offering community, like do not be afraid to really niche it down.
I like that. Such a good advice. I mean, that's something that I think we talked about that I was going through the last couple of years and figuring out, okay, who is my, audience and
Yeah.
who am I serving? And I'm definitely really niching down myself right now. I'm curious. It's like, what's a typical, like, how much are you looking to make per co-hosting property? Is it $1,000, 1,500? Is it less?
Really good question. So for me, I actually evaluate my properties less on, for me to bring in a property, it's less about how much it'll bring in, but it's geographic because I just, right now, I have my whole team in Big Bear, like my cleaner that I trust and my like inspectors, my boots on the ground people, my handyman. And so I have turned down offers to co-host in other areas. Like I've had friends reach out and they're like, I've got a property, whatever, in Florida here or something, or in Texas. And I've turned it down and referred them to somebody else because I mean, I'm probably saying no to more income I could make. But like when I evaluate it, I'm like, the effort for me to like replicate what I built and like go learn an entire new market and seasonality and pricing and find cleaners and stuff there. I just don't, I don't know. Like I told you, my time is limited. Like I'd rather record my podcast or like throw another summit. Like it's just not a priority for me. So for me, what I look for is really like geographic location. If my cleaner is willing to take on the property, if it's similar like design and stuff to what I'm already managing, and I can just like really like seamlessly like bring it into my ecosystem of properties. But on average, the listings that I manage bring in about 80,000 a year, and I take 25%. So what's that? 20K per listing, and I manage 10. So yeah, you can do the math on that. But I think there's a lot of co-hosts who would go, a lot of people would rather focus on like luxury properties rather than focusing on a geographic area. They'll say like, I only want listings. I don't care where they are, but for it to be worth my time, I only want listings that are going to bring in 200,000 a year. So yeah, there's definitely different models to do it, but that's kind of how I've built mine. It's just very localized. Actually, most of the properties that I manage are all in the same condo complex. And so we really run it almost like a boutique motel. So my cleaner will go and she'll just like hop from unit to unit and like start laundry in one, go to the next one, move stuff to the dryer, go to the next one, empty the dishwasher. So yeah, I've gotten like an extremely discounted cleaning rate because I'm like, you're going there and I'm giving you 10 to manage, like 10 to clean. So yeah, that's kind of how we've ran things. When we restock stuff, it's like so easy to just, I literally Amazon things to my cleaner's house. And then I'm like, next time you go to the condo complex, just like refill toilet paper here, paper towels here. Yeah.
I mean, shout out cleaners. I feel like they're like the unsung heroes of
Oh,
all like
yeah.
the Airbnb world. Like if you
Oh, and
find a
she's
good
like,
one, keep her or keep him.
truly, no, and she's like the 5th one that we've been on, and it's like, oh, she's just a godsend, like, could not do the business without her. If anyone has, like, a good cleaner, like, please just cherish them, like, that is, I mean, they really are, like, the backbone of the whole business. Like, I haven't been to Big Bear. I went in January, like, not even to, like, work or check on the properties, like, we blocked a unit and went on vacation. Prior to that, I had not been to Big Bear myself in 18 months. Like, it was all the cleaner was, like, sending me pictures of how stuff was going. She was the one reporting damages. She's the one restocking things. Like, it's literally it's all thanks to her that the wheels keep turning.
Yeah, shout out the cleaners. Well, let's dive into some topics that you have a lot of passion for. So, fill me in on this podcast because I'm excited to be on it. But then,
Yeah.
when did you start it? Like, how'd you grow it? Because I know from experience of having a podcast myself, it is very hard. There's not a viral moment. It's not easily, shareable per se. So, it is very difficult to actually build a big following and have a great podcast.
The story of how I started my podcast is actually like very crazy looking back on it. But I was 6 weeks postpartum after my second child, and that was a very, very traumatic birth. I like almost lost my life, like hemorrhaged, like had a placental abruption. My daughter was born not breathing and had to be resuscitated, and she was in the NICU for a week. I lost like 2.5 pints of blood, which I think the body has like 4 pints of blood. So it was just like, I think I had like 3 or 4 blood transfusions. It was rough. I don't think I got color back to my face for like 6 months after that. Like it was a very like, I don't know, very traumatic thing I went through. And it was like 6 weeks postpartum. I had no business starting a podcast. Like my mental health was like not in a place to take on a new venture. But whatever reason, I just felt like, you know what? I need to do this. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. The original vision with the podcast was I actually only wanted to do 12 episodes. And my thought was that people kept asking me the same questions. And they're like, how do you price your co hosting? Or how do you train a cleaner? Whatever, like typical, how do you price for peak season and slow season? And I was like, if I can just put out 12 episodes, and I had my like first 12 topics all written out. And I was like, then anytime somebody DMs me a question, I'll just say, go listen to episode 8 or like go listen to episode 6. Like, I really thought it was just going to be like a resource of, my thoughts put down like that. And maybe that's why I started it at that time, because I was so overwhelmed, like responding to people. So I was like, if I just build this library up, then I can easily shoot out messages. I ended up going to a conference, a short-term rental conference. It was S Tier Wealth Con in Nashville. I went in June. And at that point, I started the podcast in April. So at that point, I had like 8 episodes. I want to say 8 or 9 episodes. So I was only going to put out like 3 more. And I met Will Slickers, who's the CEO and founder of Hospitality FM. It's a podcast network for hospitality specific shows. And I met him there, and we just started talking about the podcast and stuff. And I had never looked at like analytics or downloads or how my show was doing, like nothing like that. And he was like, well, let's look it up. Like, let's see how your show is doing. And he had like access to this like platform or whatever. And he pulls it up, and it literally said that it was in the top 3% of shows, like top 3% of podcasts worldwide. And I was like, wait, what? Like, how? Like, what? This like the little thing I recorded like with my Amazon microphone in my closet after my kids went to bed, like how? And after that I was like, okay, if like this is what it's like hitting with just my very like low effort, like recorded this in like the wee hours of the night, 9 episodes in, like what if I stuck with it? Like what could happen? And so that really gave me like the push to just like keep going with it. I ended up getting onto the network, and HFM like really helped me like grow it and put strategy behind the show. And I would say within a year, it was ranked in the top 1% of shows globally. So ever since then, I don't know. I just was like, I guess I've got a knack for this or something. Like, let me just stick with it. So yeah, it's very like interesting story. I did not anticipate how it would unfold as it was happening.
That's an amazing story. What we got now, I'm just curious. Give me some of those behind the scene tips. What's some strategy that has helped you grow it?
Okay, this is my biggest tip, and it's going to sound counterintuitive, but I'm not a big proponent of bringing like big, flashy named guests. I think a lot of people would think like, oh, the way to grow is you have to have like whatever, Grant Cardone on your show, like, Pace Morby, and like they're great and they have a ton of value to offer. That's nothing against them. But what I have noticed is my shows with, I don't want to say this as like a pejorative, but the shows that I have with like no name people, like people with no following.
The nobody's half of my
Yes, and
podcast.
I don't want anyone to
I'm
think of
messing with
themselves
you.
as a nobody, but you know what I'm saying, okay? The shows that I have with those people, like they do so well. And I've noticed that when you bring on somebody with like a platform, a lot of times they don't even promote the episode. Like you tag them in it, you invite them as a collaborator on the reel. They don't accept. They have their own branding. They don't even want to push traffic to your show because they've got their own thing they're pushing. And it's so like run of the mill for them. These people are on like 10 podcasts a week. Like, why are they going to share yours? But when you elevate somebody who has a lot of value to offer and has like been through something and has some expertise, and you give them that platform, those people will share your show like with everyone they know. They text it to friends, family, their hairdresser, their dentist. They're like, look, I was on a podcast. It's such an honor. They'll send it to their email list, which is maybe only 200 people, but like those 200 people like know this person and are like really shouting out their success and stuff. And they will just, those people like value you and like ride with you for life. Like they'll be like, you were the first one that gave me like a platform. Like, how can I actually, that's funny story, how Cassidy ended up introducing me to you. I had Cassidy on the show like a year ago, and sorry, Cassidy, you were a nobody at the time. No, I'm just kidding. But he'll tell you that when I had him on, he really didn't have a big following or like much of a platform or anything. And he said after that he was like forever indebted because the traction that he got after being on the show and like the DMs he got and the way it built his following was really, really like beneficial to him. And he really needed that. And he's told me that that was kind of the push to go start his own podcast and really lean into his personal brand. And yeah, I just feel like Cassidy and I have a great like friendship friendship now. And like he always reminds me every time I see him, he's like, you have no idea what your show did for me. And I've had bigger name people that get like less downloads on like their episodes. So yeah, that's a very long-winded answer. But my best tip honestly is like just go for quality guests who have something to offer rather than chasing like big names.
I like that. What do you think about solo shows? Because a friend of mine, it's interesting, Brian Lumen, you might know him. He has like Layla Hermosi on, and then he goes, does a solo show the next day. He's like, what the heck? I got just the same amount of downloads solo show as I did with Layla Hermosi.
There you go. Like the big names, like they just don't draw in the same number of people. I will say, I think if you bring on like a big name person because there's something you really want to talk about, like with them specifically, like they have, I don't know, something they're doing, some new strategy or whatever, like that's one thing. But yeah, the solo shows, like people who are following you have come along your journey. Like they want to hear from you. They don't necessarily want to hear the 15th interview from Layla. Nothing against her. She's great. But that's, I think if people want to hear Layla Hormozi, they'll go to her page and just find whatever she's doing an Instagram live, or she's probably got her own podcast or her own thing. They're following you because they want to hear from you.
Absolutely. That's so good. All right, let's transition into something that I never thought was going to be part of my business, which we'll talk about on your show. But I guess I'm out here and I'm part of my business is hosting and throwing events.
Yeah.
So how'd you get started into doing that?
So, like I mentioned, I was formerly a wedding planner, and that was like my favorite thing I did out of like all the side hustles and random things. I loved events and wedding planning so much, but it dawned on me one day and I was like, if I choose this as my career, like I will never have another Saturday off in my entire life. Every weekend is taken if you're in the wedding industry. Then, fell into short-term rentals and I missed events a lot. That same conference I told you about, STR WealthCon, where I met Will Slickers, was where I met in person my partner on Level Up Your Listing Summit. Tatiana Taylor Tate is an extremely talented, like award-winning interior designer, and her and I connected at that conference. This is no offense to STR WealthCon. Like I love this event and we go back every single year and fully support it, but it's a very like masculine, raw energy type of event, which is great. But I think Tatiana and I were like, you know what? I think there needs to be an event like this with like a woman's touch. Like we can see, and just with her design background and my event planning background, I don't know, we really felt like we could offer something that our industry didn't have. We had gone to multiple conferences together. And one thing I noticed was short-term rental conferences specifically, everyone would speak on the stage of how important it is to provide guest experience and design and hospitality. And like looking around, we're in the stuffiest hotel ballroom with like no personality to it. For lunch, they say like go off site and go take care of your own lunch, like feed yourself. Like there was none of that hospitality. And I was like, okay, you're standing on the stage telling me like this is so important to stand out as a short-term rental, but like you're not even, the words are not matching up your mouth, what you're putting out there. And so, yeah, we really just came together to form a conference that we were like, it needs to feel like very design forward. If you want to look at photos of like our branding and stuff, it's levelupyourlistingsummit.com. And we just go like extensively, like every sponsor booth that we do, we design it in-house, which was a big undertaking. Like typically conferences will sell you the like, here's your 8x8 plot, here's your 10x10 plot, and you're paying whatever $5,000 for this, and then bring in all of your own sponsor booth, your table, your step and repeats, your retractable banners, all those things. We charge a premium on our sponsorships, and then we design everything in-house for brands. So it's all like very cohesive. Everything we do is very experiential. Just a couple examples, like we had Price Labs this year. They're a dynamic pricing software, and I'm like so proud of what we came up with for them. But every conference Price Labs goes to, they do a Price is Right game. Like that's their go-to. And we were like, no, we got to be more creative than that. And so we came up with, this year we did like a make your own lotion activation. So it was really cool. It was like decked out to look like this like science like laboratory, because we're like, okay, you're Price Labs, and we're like, you guys come up with custom pricing formulas for everyone using seasonality, demand factor, base price, minimum price, maximum price. You have all these factors to come up with a custom pricing formula. Let's let people make like a custom lotion formula. Actually, it's so funny. I have mine right here. So everybody got to make their own like little like lotion. Yeah. And so we set up like a whole laboratory. We had like beakers and different vials, and your base price was like a base shea butter lotion. And then you would go through menu and you could put in like lavender, sea salt, sandalwood, and like add your different scents to it, mix it up. And then we had like custom labels on there. And it's just like something like people can like take home and have it on their desk, Price Labs logo. Like we really like thought through every way to like elevate each brand that works with us. And like all the Price Lab reps had to do was like show up and like stand there and talk about the product while people like made lotion at their booth. So yeah, that's what we felt was like missing. We're like, here, everyone's talking about how important guest experience is. And like, we need to bring that into the actual conferences. So we love the education and the networking, but we want everybody to also like, I don't know, just have something they can take home and like really remember of their time being there.
Absolutely. No, I'm not gonna lie. When I first learned about Level Up Your Listing, I watched some of your videos. I was like, wow, I need to step up like my ambiance, but just like get creative and get fun with it. Like, who is my target like avatar? You know exactly who your target is, and
Yes.
you created the environment and experience exactly for them. I mean, I'm sure anyone who sees that, it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta be there. I mean, as a guy, I even like, wow, this is cool. I
Yeah.
want to. It looks fun. I want to be there. Like,
Yeah, we do now allow men, like year 1, we're like, this is a women's event, and in our 2nd year, so many of our attendees were like emailing us and they're like, "Listen, I wanna come back, but my husband does this business with me and like he wants to come and like we wanna get aligned. Is that allowed?" And we were like, "Yes, 100%." Like basically Tatiana and I are like thing is like, "Look, if you're coming to just like hit on the women at our event, like stay home, okay? But if you wanna come and you also care about guest experience and hospitality and you don't mind getting a little custom lotion while you're there, like we will treat you right and just show you like, I don't know, an event with a women's touch."
no, that's awesome. Okay, break down like who is the perfect person to be at Level Up Your Listing.
Oh, and this has changed over the years. So I like this question. Year 1, it was very much like operators. Like if you are just somebody, I think a lot of the other conferences at the time when we started were just talking about like very like motivational, you know, and it was like, I make 10 million a year and this is what I do. And it was like very aspirational, which is good. And I think that that opens people's minds. But in year 1, we were like, I think that we need to talk about like how to actually set your cleaning procedures, like how to furnish a listing. Like it was very, very nuts and bolts of short-term rental operations. But our content has changed over the years, honestly, to keep up with our audience. And what we've noticed right now is that our attendees in our community, they are so much more than short-term rental operators. It's very similar to my journey. They are starting podcasts, they're getting into coaching, they're starting interior design businesses, they're opening boutique hotels, getting into micro resorts, glamping, opening bed and breakfast, becoming restaurant operators, opening wedding venues. It's like so creative what people are doing. People are becoming branding specialists and starting direct booking sites and website designers. And so this year we really pivoted our content. Our theme this year was like the hobby host to CEO. Again, very similar to my journey, like started as a host and then all these other doors open for them. So yeah, if you want to come and learn about like PR strategies, branding, I don't know, micro resorts, like developments, partnerships, just like everything like more. But I think the core that we focus on is still always, we want people who care about hospitality and guest experience.
I feel like majority of people maybe say, "Hey, I want to see the topics." We talked about this before. I
Yes.
want to see the speakers. So I'm like, get out of here. You don't need to
Yeah.
see all that because at the end of the day, you're there for the experience and for the relationships that you're going to build.
Yes.
That's what everyone always talks about, and I'm sure it's the same with you.
Yeah, you and I talked about this the other day, but it's so funny. Like people before they buy a ticket, people will email us and they'll be like, the speaker list isn't up yet. Like, what's on the agenda? Like, what are all the sessions? I don't want to buy a ticket until I know. And then without fail, every single year we send out our post-summit feedback survey and we're like, what was your favorite speaking session? What was your biggest takeaway? What was your favorite thing? And everybody always says my favorite part was the networking in the community with other attendees. And every year I'm like, see, you guys don't even care about the speakers. Like you literally don't care. You're coming, but people think that that's why they're coming. They think they're coming to learn, which I am proud. I think our speakers are badass, and like I really am proud of the speakers that we pick, and they always offer a ton of value. But I don't know. We've been doing this 3 years now, and I know like you are not coming for the speakers. You don't know it, but you are coming for the networking and community. If you just wanted education, stay home and listen to podcasts or watch YouTube channels. There's a reason you're coming to an in-person event. event, and it's because you want that connection. But yeah, people don't realize it. We have to figure out how to like drill it into them. Like, you're not coming for the speakers, trust me.
Yeah, there must be a way to like message your marketing where that's more of the focus than anything tactical or
Yeah.
anything about the speakers or whatever. I don't have the solution right there, but I think that's definitely something
So
that
we tried to do that this year. This was our 3rd year, and this was the longest we ever waited to put out our speakers and our agenda, because I was very much like, I want people to like come for the networking. Like, the speakers can be the cherry on top, you know? But I wanted people to come for the networking. So we withheld it, and I was like really trying to put our marketing towards like, just come because you want the connection. And Jesse, like the amount of emails we got and DMs that was just like, I'm waiting to buy a ticket because I don't know who's speaking. And finally it was just like, okay, fine, like we'll put these damn names on the website, but you guys. And sure enough, all our post summit surveys are, my favorite part was the networking. And I'm like, okay.
so interesting.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something because no one talks about it. Instagram, everything's a highlight reel.
Mm,
And what I love about, just our natural connection and friendship has been transparency. Just like, hey, this didn't work. We thought it would. It didn't. Oh,
yeah.
guess what? That's not my market. That's not my audience. I'm switching into this because XYZ. So everyone always wants to get on podcasts, share about their success. Give me a little sneak behind a failure. Could be anything.
Well, since we're talking about the summit, this is a very top of mind failure. We
Learning
actually
lesson. Let's call it that. Hold up. Learning lesson.
learning lesson. Okay. So we actually lost $40,000 on this year's summit, which I don't know if I said that like anywhere publicly. A few of our friends know, but we haven't like said that anywhere. It's really interesting because in events, you may know this, Jesse, people say that it takes 5 years to just break even on events typically. And then by year 7, you'll be making like a little bit. Sorry, I'm wrong. For the first 5 years, events lose money. Finally, in year 5, between years 5 and 7, they start to break even. And then finally, year 7 and on is when they make money. Our trajectory was year 1, we literally broke even. We spent $201,000 and we made 204. So like, woohoo, $3,000. So broke even. Year 2, we actually ended with some profit. We ended with about like 80,000 in the account. And this year we ended with 40,000. So started with 80, ended with 40. So we lost money. Like, we didn't have to come out of pocket. We had reserves in there, but yeah, we lost 40K this year. And I felt like our event, we just had it in March, and January, February, March, when I had like started running the numbers and realized like, yeah, we're not going to hit our goals this year. Like, it was very, very hard to get through the last like 2 to 3 months of planning, knowing that all of that work was like going into a loss. Like, it was very demoralizing. I was telling Tatiana like the whole month before the summit, like, I don't know if I want to do this again. Like, this might be the last one. So yeah, that was really hard behind the scenes. But this one, like, without a doubt, came to Phoenix, put a smile on, and like made the most of it, even though behind the scenes I was like, this might be my last one. Like, I don't know if I have it in me again. Without a doubt, this was like our best one yet. Like, sponsors were beyond thrilled. Speakers were so happy. Attendees were just like thrilled. We launched pre-sale on the last day of the summit, and we've already sold a third of tickets for next year just with people that were in the room. Sponsors were literally like at the summit saying like, where can I sign? Where can I put a deposit for next year? Like, hold my spot. And I've had to really like think about this. And I was like, do I want to do this again? Like, okay, we're ending with 40,000 in the account. If I lose 40,000 again next year, we'll end with 0 in the account. Like, where do I want to go from here? And we've really like thought a lot about this, but I can't explain it. Like, I don't know what it is yet, but I really feel like both Tatiana and I are like on the cusp of something just like huge, with this event being like a launching point for that. I don't know, the speakers that we have connections to now, like some of our speakers were just Tori and Seth Bolt from Bolt Farm Treehouse. I don't know if you know them, but you should look into their business. They're really built a really cool glamp site with like domes and tree houses. They were just the most gracious, like kind speakers ever. They said that they've spoken at so many events, and this was bar none their favorite. And they literally said like, we have so many connections in the industry, like anyone that you guys want to speak to have as a speaker in the future, like just send us an email, we'll intro you, like anyone. We also had Eileen and Ray Jimenez were our keynotes. They have a Netflix show and an HGTV show, Divided by Design and Designing Miami. They're really talented interior designers in Miami, and they were same thing, just like so kind, so gracious to us. And they're like, anyone you want from HGTV or Netflix, like send us an email, we'll intro you. Wayfair was our presenting sponsor, and they were just like beyond thrilled. And they're like, what can we do? How can we continue this momentum? Like, do you guys want to host a dinner like at our store in Chicago? They opened a retail store. It's their first like try into retail rather than just e-commerce. And they're like, let's host an event like at our store in Chicago. So I don't know. I just feel like there's so many cool opportunities coming. And I'm really trying to like think of it as like, okay, maybe monetarily on, the profit and loss statement, it was definitely a loss, but there's so many other things that come out of like building a personal brand. So I don't know. That was one that I would say is like objectively a failure. Like we literally lost, started with 80, ending with 40. Like that sucks to see the numbers. And yeah, it's a bummer. But I'm like hoping there's a lesson that comes out of it. And I don't know what it is yet.
Well, also, just for the audience, like, unless you throw a big event, I mean, spending $200,000 is a big event. Until you do that, you don't understand all the little things that are associated with it. Like, I know sometimes in the past, I've looked at ticket prices. I'm like, $300 to go to this conference? Like, that's so much. But now
Yeah.
behind the scenes, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was a steal. Because knowing how much time is
Yeah.
invested, how much, your team that you have to pay, like it's a lot of things that go into events. And most of the time you don't make any money. And that's the interesting concept where I'm just learning about this the last couple of years as I've started doing these events. Typically there's like this upsell. And so join my $30,000 coaching program. That's how everyone says to do it. And me, that's not my model.
I don't
And
do the
so
upsell either. You and I haven't talked
yeah.
about this yet. A lot of people have told Tatiana and I, like, why do you guys not have an upsell? Why do you not have an
Yeah.
upsell at the
I
end of
mean, it
the
should at least be your coaching program. I'll say that. Like, you should at least say, hey, if you do want to
I
co-host.
know. I mean, my thought is like I've had a few people join since the conference. Like I didn't shout it out on stage, but it's like, okay, people follow me and then they, learn about it. So, we have that, but we don't have like the 30K mastermind that we launch out of it. And a lot of this is what I've learned is a lot of people that throw events know that they're going to break even or lose money, but they don't care because they're making money on the upsell. And there's nothing wrong with that model. But I think Tatiana and I are like very much aligned that we want Level Up to like speak for itself. I don't want to necessarily build something, and maybe we will in the future. I don't know. Never say never, but I just don't want to build something I don't want this to ever feel like a funnel. Like I don't want this to be like top of the funnel and we're just like getting whoever in the door because it's a prospect. I don't ever want it to feel like that. You're spending money on your ticket to come. You're spending money on flights and accommodation. You have to get childcare or take time off of work. Like it's a big commitment. And I just want people to like get the value already from the room. Like I don't want just like, oh, and if you really want to learn how to do this, now join this. And so I
We'll
don't
tell
know,
you the
maybe
real secrets if behind this
if you
paywall.
join, it's like, what the hell? That's why I came to this whole thing to learn the
Yeah,
real
yeah.
secrets. So I don't know. I have learned, like, I think at the time that we got into events, there was definitely like, oh, all these people are doing it. All these successful people are doing it. So it must be a huge moneymaker. False. They go in knowing like we're okay losing money because we're going to make it up on the upsell. But I really feel like we could, I don't know, maybe we're pursuing something not possible, but I think there has to be a way with like more sponsorships or like if our audience is more and more loyal and they see like every year we actually do get value out of this, we're not just being upsold into something. I think it will pay off eventually. So we'll see.
I know, Will. We've already talked about it, just like, having these transparent conversations and also realizing that sponsors is where you can actually make a lot of money and, aligning the right sponsors with your events and stuff and even getting those big title ones like you already have. There's begging you to come back because you have such a good service and they were fulfilled. You fulfilled on, the deliverables or whatever you ended up doing for them. So yeah, nah, you're like right there. You're going to figure it all out. And I'm excited to kind of be a part of that journey and give my 2 cents if you ever want to hear it, which I think our conversations are always great.
I know. And you do more retreats, so it's very different. Ours is a 300-person event, and you're what, like the 50 to 75 mark?
Yeah, we cap it at 50.
50. Okay. Yeah. So it's been really helpful to just talk to you about like, the numbers are a little bit different. Like our pitch decks to sponsors are a little different. Price point is very different. You're definitely targeting like a higher level person who's coming and like everything's taken care of for them, right? You include accommodation and like all meals and everything with their ticket. Yeah.
Essentially, yeah, there's different price points, but yeah, it's definitely an option. I think what we can talk about off camera and dive into is that we're gonna make you have a badass VIP night. And
Mhm.
those gonna be like, all right, you want to get in that room? All right, yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna cost because this is the value that we're gonna provide. So I think that could be also an interesting way to go about it, is having that VIP night really highlighted.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think we're tapping into that enough. Yeah, there's just always something to learn. I was even telling you this the other day when we talked. Like, I remember year one being like, oh, yeah, this will be fine. You know, it'll be like everyone else is doing it. We can throw an event with my background in events and like Tatiana's in design. Like, this will be easy. And then it was like, oh, no, like no one knows who the hell we are. Like, we're really starting this from scratch. Like, year one was hard. And I was like, okay, year two will be so easy. Like, now we have content and everything that we can go off of and like show people how great last year was. No, year two had like its own unique set of challenges. But we were like, okay, year three, we're hiring people. Like, year three will be way easier. We hired people, and the amount of like training that we had to do for them and like onboarding and hand holding and answering questions, year three wasn't any easier. And then I called myself like a couple weeks ago to my husband. I was like, you know what? I think year four will finally be like easy. Like, now we have our team and they're trained. And then I was like, wait, I've said that literally every year. Like, I think year four is not going to be any easier. Like, it's going to have its own set of challenges. And I don't know what it is yet, but I think I'm like learning, like, oh, entrepreneurship is kind of always hard.
Yeah, we're
And
always building on what we last did, and then there's a new set of
yes,
challenges or a new
yes.
amount of pressure, whatever it is in life. So yeah, you're gonna laugh. Maybe I'll share my story of the first event that we did. You're gonna think I'm crazy, just my thought, and then what actually happened. Which maybe we'll say that for your podcast, but it's
Ooh.
gonna be fun.
Okay, there's a tease. So
There you
Jesse's
go.
also going to be on No Vacancy, the podcast. So if you want to hear that story, move over to No Vacancy and you'll be able to hear that story.
Absolutely. As we wrap up, what's the best way people can reach out to you? And before that, we always end on this one question. So, our audience is very much a go giver mindset. They want to provide some kind of value to you. We're going to have people that want to reach out to you, but they're not going to say, hey, can I pick your brain, Natalie? Because if they do, I don't know them. They're banned from Growth House. So, what kind of value could be something small, could be something big that we can provide to you before we ask for anything, even if it's a question?
Okay, I would love a follow on Instagram because that's where I post about everything. You can just find me, Natalie Palmer, but anything podcast, summit, coaching, short term rentals, anything I'm working on, you can find there. And if you want to just like DM me and maybe tell me what was your favorite part of this episode or like what you got the most value out of, it's always fun to hear what like people resonate with. I post so much short term rental stuff, but I've been more and more interested in just like business and these other conversations. So if you got value out of any of that, I would love to hear it.
Jesse Ray with the Growth House Podcast. It's been fun. It's an honor to have you on our show, Natalie. I'm looking forward to people connecting with you, and we're going to put everything in the show description. But best way to contact and reach out to you is through Instagram, right?
Yep.
Perfect. Natalie Palmer. Is that simple?
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.